So we got a really great announcement yesterday in the D&D world, something I am personally addicted to in a way that I should probably get therapy for. I love subclasses, and boy, oh boy, did we get some subclasses yesterday. You know, I know every time we get on Unearthed Arcana, I say this is my favorite one, but
will you re-roll Averin again this time?
The answer is yes. But probably for the last time, actually. So we got two spooky subclasses here. First off, one of the Unearthed Arcana that we've gotten is a Bard subclass. It's called the College of Spirits.
Yes.
And that'll lead us off here. Stories of the past are powerful. They hold lessons of history, philosophy, and magic. Bards of the College of Spirits seek the stories of those from beyond the material plane. Using gaming sets, they reach out to hear their stories, but the bards have no control over what story they find. This is very interesting.
Yeah, I love this guy right off the bat. Instantly, this idea of a bard that holds a folklore and history and philosophy in their minds makes me think of the original bards, the Celtic bards, who were just as much chroniclers of their people as they were wandering troubadours and so forth. But the added wrinkle of them being mediums who hear these stories not just through an oral tradition, but through actual communing with those figures who were a part of the stories is such a cool fantasy twist on a real world bit of lore.
I always like that take on the bard, that Welsh wizard, because Welsh wizards were so unusual because in that mythology and Gaelic wizards, they sung the true names of things to manipulate the world, to manipulate magic. So there's a little bit of like onomancy in there, right? But also the fact that you had to sing it, like everything had a resonance, is very interesting for European mythology, actually, and unusual. And that's why the bard always like connects so well with that. The other thing I'm very excited about College of Spirits is the bard is so often associated with that braggadocious, in your face, just being like swinging off the chandeliers kind of character. I do like the spooky bards.
Yeah, and you can easily dial up and down the spookiness on this one. The warlock, we'll talk about the warlock later, but this one,
I don't think there is a dial on the warlock.
No, the warlock that one goes to 11 and it's been snapped off there.
Yeah.
But this bard, you can play it very eerie and play up the otherworldliness of this bard a lot, or you can have it be a softer, more benign sort of spirit charmer that you have in your midst. And anything that lets the story of your class be evocative, but also mutable to whatever concept you really want to play.
Yeah,
that's ideal D&D class design in my book, anyway. It's what makes me so excited about warlock patrons, even the ones in the player's handbook, fiend, archfey, because it gives you so much flavor right off the bat. But it's up to you what kind of fiend, what kind of archfey, what kind of old one that you want to actually have a pact with, and there's so much room for self-expression within an already very flavorful package.
And I feel like we were seeing that a lot more in Unearthed Arcana, especially lately. It's so important to interject story. Story is a fundamental aspect of designing a subclass. And certainly any attempt I have made at making subclasses, it's the first thing I run into of I am trying to find mechanics that tell the story. It's not whether they're good mechanics or not, as much as do they fit who this character would be. And that is like the hardest part. Figuring out whether something's powerful or not, honestly, I feel like that's the easier bit. And even if it's overpowered, if you got the story right, then I think that's like 80% of the battle. But that's my personal feelings.
Yeah. So you'll find many people who agree and many people who disagree with you on that one. But I love that approach.
It is the internet. So First off, we've got Guiding Whispers. Whew, that's already creepy sounding. This is at 3rd level for the College of Spirits. You can reach out to spirits to guide you and others. You learn the Guidance cantrip, which doesn't count against the number of spells or cantrips that you know as a bard. For you, it has a range of 60 feet when you cast it.
Holy crap. Free guidance, which I think a lot of people would say is the best cantrip in the game.
Right.
Plus, you no longer have to touch someone to use it. You can cast it at 60 feet. Amazing. This is awesome for anyone, especially for this bard. I think there will be there may be a knee-jerk reaction to this ability if you if you really know the power of guidance, because guidance is an easily spammable cantrip. If you're hanging out of combat and your friends want to do anything, you're just like, oh, I've got guidance here. Your roll is better now. No matter what, your roll is at least a little bit better. And so you can just kind of always be casting guidance, which is which can feel problematic. And so if you see, wow, and now it's 60 feet too, what can't guidance do? I think that is both a valid first impression and also maybe not quite as overpowered as you might think, because guidance's real niche is out of combat in non-dangerous situations where time is not necessarily of the essence. Mm-hmm. And so the difference between 60 feet and 0 feet in a situation like that is almost nil. The only situation where it might really come up and really shine is when there are physical obstacles between you and your party, a gaping chasm. One of you is on the other side of a hall full of traps, and you need help making a dexterity check to get across. So I love this. I think it's very good. I think it's not quite as broken as it might appear at first glance.
Yeah, I don't feel it's broken. I feel like we see this a lot, and there are other things that happen. Familiars doing the help action. This is a constant thing. We have things of also the help action coming off of the Mastermind Rogue. Just me playing the Mastermind Rogue, I got tired of helping people, which I know is terrible, but I kept on feeling like I was interjecting my opinion. I love the Mastermind Rogue. It's just not for me. But I don't feel that this is broken when compared to other things. 60 feet makes a lot of sense for a bard. Bard shouldn't have to touch you to use guidance. So I quite like this ability. Now that brings us, interestingly, that we have 3 abilities at level 3. So very front loaded here. We've got Spiritual Focus. This is a level 3 and also 6th level College of Spirits feature. That means this improves later. Your practice of contracting spirits. Oh, sorry. I don't have my glasses on. Your practice of contacting spirits can employ special tools.
Some freelance spirits for you, yeah.
I like contracting spirits. That's what I do. You can use the following objects as a spellcasting focus for your bard spells: a candle, a crystal ball, a talking board, Taroka deck, or a skull. At 6th level, I love it. At 6th level, and there's no reason you couldn't have necessarily done that before for flavor, talking to your DM, but I like them showing you and reminding new players and old players that, hey, you can really make this your own and be, spooky about it.
But now in the upgraded version of this feature, there is an actual mechanical bit to this funky, creepy focus.
Right. At 6th level, when you cast a bard spell that deals damage or restores hit points through the spiritual focus, you roll a d6 and you gain a bonus to one roll of that spell equal to the number rolled.
There's a lot fun to talk about here right off the bat.
Yeah.
First of all, this 3rd level feature, we're talking about maybe a kind of front-loaded class. There are actually 4 3rd level features for the bard. But this one, the 3rd level feature, is kind of it's a flavorful thing. So you're actually right off the bat when you say there's 3. This doesn't really do anything mechanically for the bard at 3rd level, but it is very cool. But when you get to 6th level, this is a fun little passive boost for any bard who wants to do something that might be just a little bit outside of the usual bard niche. Bards are jacks of all trades usually, but it's hard in the current bard subclasses that we have to be a really damage dealy or support Healy kind of bard.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting just an extra little d6 bump whenever you deal damage or heal is awesome. It's great for supporting that niche. And
Yeah.
I'm in love with the idea of you having a skull as your spiritual focus and casting Vicious Mockery out of it. And so you've got this little skull with the voice of Billy Crystal or something. He's mocking your opponents and dealing more damage through it than he normally would.
I adore that. And it's so evocative. I mean, you know, when you think of just Shakespeare and Hamlet, you know, and speaking to Iago, I mean, what could be more like speaking actually to a former bard? There's something charming about that. But obviously, you know, we've seen lots of spellcasters who like speak to the dead by touching the skull and or like
last poor Yorick, please kill this guy for me.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yes. I see the jokes. But yeah, Vicious Mockery with a skull chattering is yeah, it's chef's kiss. It's chattering teeth. Then we get Tales from Beyond. This is also a third level feature. You reach out to the spirits who tell their tales through you. While you are holding your spiritual focus, you can use a bonus action to expend one use of your bardic inspiration and roll on the spirit's tales table, using your bardic inspiration to determine the tale that you tell. You retain the tale in mind until you bestow the tale's effect or you finish a short or long rest. This is so story driven. You can use an action to choose one creature you see within 30 feet of you. This can be you as well, to be the target of the tale's effect. Once you do so, you can't bestow this tale's effect again until you roll it again. You can retain only one of these tales in your mind at a time. Rolling on the spirit's tale table immediately ends the effect of the previous tale. If the tale requires a saving throw, DC is equal to your spell saving throw.
Okay, this is the juice.
This is...
and it's for such a flavorful story-ish feature, it's got kind of a lot of mechanics behind it, such that it's worth maybe breaking it down and simplifying it into maybe a sentence rather than 3 paragraphs, just to make it clear. Anytime you want, with no action required, you can reach out into the spirit realm and hear a tale from a spirit. And you kind of hang on to that story until you take your next short rest. So it's kind of like a spell that you've got. It's spell-ish that you've traded away a bardic inspiration die to gain. Now you've just kind of got it floating around in your mind,
right?
Until you finish a short rest, which is when bards regain their bardic inspiration, starting at 6th level or something like that. And then you choose a creature. Some of them affect allies, some of them affect enemies, and you can use this, just expend it, and then the effect comes into play. So you don't have to use it immediately. But the only time an action is involved is when you're actually using the power of this thing, rather than bringing it into your mind.
Right.
And then there's a roll on this gigantic table, which is so cool. Do you want to break down some of these things?
Yeah, I'll do my best. This reminds me very much of the Artificer Alchemist in some ways. So, you know, if you roll a 1, you get the beast. You recite the tale of a clever animal. For 1 minute, the target has advantage on wisdom, perception checks, and advantage on attack rolls against a creature if another enemy is within 5 feet of it, and that enemy isn't incapacitated. This is very good for a rogue who's in the party that's trying to get sneak attack. This also makes a lot of sense because we've seen with pack animals in D&D, they tend to get advantage as well when they're fighting together against a single target. And that's super great, super powerful. I like the randomness of this, that you don't know what you're getting every day.
Yes. I particularly like how the randomness interacts with you as you level up, because your bardic inspiration die increases as you gain levels. And this table goes from 1 to 12, the max size of your bardic inspiration die at D12. So you'll start with 6 options, and then incrementally as you gain, you'll go to 8, and then to 10, and then to 12. And so even though these are all don't know, roughly similar in power, I think. There's definitely a spectrum, but they're not like first and ninth level spells different. There's this very gentle feeling of stretching your power here.
It's such a storyteller's bard. And certainly you
Yes.
could have always played your bard like that. And the the lore bard kind of insinuates it. But this just codifies it because
Mm-hmm.
you are getting a chance to be a little bit of the DM because you're choosing how you tell this clever animal story. So if you love improv, this is a great thing
Mm-hmm.
because then you tell the story of a clever animal.
Yeah.
We'll try to get through this as fast as we can. Level 2, the warrior. You recount the story of a renowned duelist. Make a melee spell attack against the target as an wait. You recount the story of a renowned duelist. Make a melee attack against the target as an attacking spectral warrior briefly appears in an unoccupied space 5 feet within 5 feet of the target before vanishing on a hit. The target does take force damage equal to 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. So you just summon a warrior to basically smack somebody.
Yeah, this is definitely something where maybe the wording could be a little bit more eloquent.
Right. Anytime you have
it
two
does
twos.
take a moment to like you look at this and you're like, what does this do? Oh, I get
Yeah.
it now. But I like the concept here a lot, and I feel like the actual mechanical effectiveness is pretty good. Deal damage equal to, you spend 1 bardic inspiration die and you kind of get 2 damage worth of bardic inspiration out of it. That's not bad.
No, that's not bad, especially for something that's chance. Like
Yeah,
you're not manipulating this yet.
And I want to make it clear that, so spiritual focus, the one that increases damage when you cast bard spells, since this is not actually a spell, it may be a spell attack, but it's not a spell. It's not a bard spell.
Correct.
This does not benefit from getting it.
That would not benefit. Yeah. We've got friends. You recite the tale of friends who found each other in the afterlife. The target and another creature of its choice can see within. Wait, what? Am I saying this wrong? The target and another creature of its choice. That's right, because you can give this benefit to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
The target and a creature of its choice, it can see within 5 feet, regains hit points equal to a roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. Lovely.
Oh, that's actually kind of cute. It's like you choose the first friend, but then they choose the next friend.
Yeah.
Aww, that's fun.
Yeah, that's lovely. Just kind of like passing on the kindness.
Yeah.
Then we have a story of a runaway. You can tell the tale of an adventurer who could escape any confinement. The target can immediately use its reaction to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. When the target teleports, it can choose a number of creatures it can see within 30 feet up to your charisma modifier to immediately use the same reaction. That is powerful.
Up to your charisma modifier. So
yeah,
there are good odds that as you're higher level, that's going to be 3, 4, 5 people.
Absolutely.
That could be an entire party at once.
This is some strong stuff. But again, I like the randomness of this, and I mean, it's by no means game breaking, but I adore it.
It's a fun sort of pseudo randomness because you choose, you spend your die and you roll and you get a random result, but then you hang on to it and you can choose when you want to put this thing into effect.
Right. It is interesting if you are handing out these benefits to another player for them to keep track. So it's not unlike, again, the Artificer Alchemist and the fact that you have to remind people what that potion does. It's almost, I think it would behoove you at the table to like hand or paste and copy it to someone. Like, hey, this is what you got this game, you know.
Yeah, I have some.
You're in a Zoom call, send them this, you know, or hand them a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I would like to see cards with this.
Yeah.
Even a Taroka deck with one side is a symbol and another is this.
Wouldn't that be very cool if instead of rolling a die on this, you just had a deck of cards that you printed?
Yeah.
So cool.
I may have to laminate some stuff here.
Got your Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We've got the Avenger. You recount the tale of an avenging knight. For 1 minute, whenever a creature the target can see within 30 feet is damaged by a creature, that target can use its reaction to deal force damage equal to a roll of your bardic inspiration die to the attacker. It's decent.
That's potentially a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
And it's force.
And it's force damage, not resisted. Like, if your bardic inspiration die gets rolled 3 times, you're already kind of out damaging that warrior card from before. It's just a trade-off that someone has to get hurt first.
Now we got the hero. You can speak to a tale of an epic hero. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. That target gains temporary hit points equal to the roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your bard level. That's a ton. It can't be. While it has these temporary hit points, the target's walking speed increases by 10 feet. That's fantastic.
Damn. Yeah.
It really is. Right. That's the hero rushing into battle. Unafraid, kind of.
Yeah. So, okay. Since this is a hit point thing, I want to go back to the Friends one. The Friends one is essentially 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration die plus twice your charisma modifier, because it goes to one creature and then to another one.
Yeah.
So this is
regaining hit points for Friends. This is temporary hit points which don't stack.
Yeah. So I usually think of temporary hit points as being better than normal hit points because you can overheal with them. Right. But there's definitely the trade-off because temporary hit points cannot stack.
Absolutely.
I think these 2 options are like they're roughly balanced with each other. Hero and Friends seem to be pretty much on the same level.
Right.
Okay, so we've just gotten to 6. That is where the sort of 3rd level bard finishes.
Absolutely.
The next 2 are going to be when you gain some levels and your bardic inspiration die pops up to a D8.
Yeah.
You have a chance of these next 2.
This is a big bard. We've got the Fae. You recount the tale of a mischievous Fae. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you until the end of the next turn. The charmed target must use its action to make a melee attack against a creature other than itself that you mentally choose. The target can act normally on its turn if you choose no other creature.
It's very Fae. Yeah.
Very
Fae. The flavor is right.
Yeah. It does require a saving throw.
It's very what's that spell? It's very Crown of Madness, actually.
Yeah, it is very Crown of Madness.
Cool.
Yeah, and we've seen examples of this before in a few other classes.
It's like Crown of Madness for 1 turn. I was about to say, damn, Crown of Madness is a 2nd level spell. That's not nothing. But it's only for 1 turn rather than for the full minute of Crown of Madness.
Absolutely.
I think this is good.
Yeah, and again, this is random, so it's hard for you to plan events. But we'll try to move a little bit faster because boy, this bard is a lot.
We're not even through this bard's 3rd level features.
We're not even through the 3rd level features. So we've got the Dark Spirit. You speak of a dreadful tale of a slayer in the dark. The target becomes invisible until the end of its next turn, or until it hits a creature with an attack. If it hits a creature with an attack during the invisibility, that creature takes necrotic damage equal to your roll of your bardic inspiration die and is frightened of the target until the next turn. These are getting more powerful with the dice roll.
Yes.
Because first off, if you're invisible, you have advantage to your attacks. They have disadvantage to you. You are very likely to make this attack in the first place. Mm-hmm. That creature is now going to take more necrotic damage. And on top of this, if they become frightened of you, then they have disadvantage against attacks against you. So it's all win for you. Whoever you give this to is powered up.
This is awesome for rogues. It's awesome for anyone who wants to make melee attacks, but it's awesome for rogues for a number of reasons. 1, invisibility, bonus is still awesome. 2, sneak attack advantage, great. Extra damage, essentially, when you get a sneak attack off, awesome. And that just means if you get a crit as a rogue, the damage doubles up and doubles up and doubles up like they love to do anyway. But then, after all that, they're frightened of you. You don't want to get attacked as a rogue. you don't want any enemies getting anywhere near you. So that guy being frightened of you after you've just stuck a knife in their back,
Yeah.
that's incredible for you because you can just get out of there, no repercussions. Basically.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's very powerful, and it's fun to watch these scale up as the dice gets larger and larger for your bardic inspiration as a bard. Now we've got the giant. You speak of the deeds of a mighty giant. Each creature of the target's choice it can see within 30 feet must make a strength saving throw or take force damage equal to 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration die. On a failed save, it is knocked prone. A creature that succeeds its saving throw takes half as much damage and isn't knocked prone. Very powerful, very strong. That's a lot of people taking force damage. Getting knocked prone, that gives you advantage to all your attack rolls. So this is we're venturing into like, okay, this is helping everybody.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say about this? It's great against a lot of enemies, and it's still pretty good against solo enemies too because of that knockdown.
It's a little bit of a miniature tidal wave.
Yeah, I can just imagine a giant like stomping on the ground and that shockwave knocking everyone to the ground. It's very flavorful.
And yeah, and like I would love to see a visual component happen with this too, right? Like with the story that you tell, comes alive. So now at 10, we've got the dragon. You breathe a poem of a wrathful dragon. The target is magically spews fire from its mouth in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw or take fire damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. Now we're bringing the hurt.
This is funny because I'm actually a little underwhelmed by this one.
Right.
It's fire damage, which is a little
very
whatever.
easy to resist.
It's 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die with no other effect.
Right.
Against dexterity saving throws, which a lot of monsters are pretty good at.
That is also true.
It's fine. It's fine.
Right. It's not the giant.
Yeah, it's no giant.
And it would roughly target as many, I would say. Unless you got everyone lined up perfectly in that 30-foot cone. I think 4d6 would be pretty abusive. But you're right. Fire damage is easily resisted for the most part. Force damage almost never, unless you're an alchemist that made your own armor to resist force damage.
I think the way that hit points scale in 5th edition, by the time you're getting to a D10 bardic inspiration die,
good point.
You kind of just want, if damage is all you're getting, you kind of want a little bit more out of it.
You're right. That's a good point. The enemies you're facing have a higher likeliness of being quite adept at maybe avoiding this. So dragon just sounds like something that should be higher up on the die roll, but maybe like,
I don't know. Yeah, 4 rolls of bardic inspiration. That's 4d10 fire damage in a 30-foot cone. That feels good to me.
Yeah. So now we've got 11, the celestial. You speak of exalted deeds of a celestial. The target regains hit points equal to 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration plus your bard level. And you end 1 disease or a condition from the following list affecting the target, being blind, deafened, paralyzed, petrified, or poisoned. This is very situational. But all of those things are very likely to happen at this level to you.
What level are you by the time you've got a D12 bardic inspiration die? You're 15th level.
Yeah.
So whatever you're rolling, you're adding plus 15 to that.
Yeah.
You're rolling 2d12.
Yeah.
So you're healing on average 28 damage. 28 damage for a single. You're paying 1 bardic inspiration die, by the way, for this. You've got I don't know offhand how many bardic inspiration dice you have right there. But you're paying 1 bardic inspiration die for like 30 hit points worth of healing, and you're basically lesser restorationing them also.
Yeah.
That feels pretty good.
You're getting 2 spells for 1. Yeah. At 12, the unknown. You utter an incomprehensible fable from a being beyond the stars. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet. The target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take psychic damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die. The target is unable to speak any language for 1 minute. This is not a lot of things can resist psychic damage necessarily. I mean, certainly a lot of undead, but intelligence saving throw is pretty rough. I think at this level, you are probably running into quite a few enemies who are very smart. But not being able to speak any language, that provides issues for, like, if you are fighting a caster, they probably have a high intelligence, maybe, unless they're a warlock or a cleric. But not being able to speak, that's like a miniature silence. So that could shut something down if they don't get their intelligence saving throw.
I wonder if not being able to speak any language would actually shut down somatic components.
Yeah, components. I kind of want some specifics on that.
I would want some clarity.
Yeah.
I think maybe wording it as unable to speak intelligibly would make it clearer that you can't say anything worth saying, even for your spells.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
The fact there's no half damage on a successful save makes me a little sad.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very flavorful. It's very flavorful. I think it might want a little bit more power, but
okay. I can see that for sure. Yeah, I feel like the force damage was the big winner for the giant. And yeah, you're right. That heal and restoration is is really decent. So now we're finally to 6th level. We'll get through this as fast as we can. It's the Spirit session. At 6th level, the College of Spirits feature that you have here. You can channel spirits to gain insights into magic. You conduct an hour-long ritual channeling spirits, which you can. This can be done, a short, long rest using your spiritual focus. You can conduct this ritual a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. At the end of the ritual, you can temporarily learn one spell of your choice from any class. Okay. The spell you choose must be of a level equal to the number of creatures that conducted the ritual or less. The spell must be of a level you can cast, and it must be of the school of divination or necromancy. Yay. The chosen spell counts as a bard spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of bard spells you know. Once you perform this ritual, you can't do so again until you start a long rest, and you know the chosen spell until you start a long rest as well.
I think it's very interesting they say start a long rest as opposed to
I've not seen that
woken
phrasing.
up in the middle of I've never seen it other than I've only seen finish a long rest.
I'm not fully familiar. I don't play a lot of bards enough. I feel like they can cast just about anything and do anything. But I like the idea of having a seance and raising the dead.
I love multi-user rituals.
Oh, I do.
Crap,
I do. I do.
Much.
I love that mechanic every time. In anything, in any game I've ever played, like Plague Rats in D&D. I mean, in Magic the Gathering, right? So the fact that everyone is kind of pooling their magical resources. This is what I'd love to see with a lot more of D&D is everyone coming together and creating a greater effect.
I agree.
And this is certainly very evocative of that. I like that you have to get 9 people to cast a spell that you wouldn't normally cast. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And
I think I missed this the first time I read it, but you can only use it with the number of creatures equal to your proficiency bonus. So you can never get more than a 6th level spell slot.
Okay, so we're not getting into Wish. Plus,
I think that's fair. I think that's balanced. It would be cool if you could get a huge ritual going.
That would have been pretty amazing.
I would probably do something like
this. Turns you into almost a cultist.
Right?
So,
this is awesome. This is very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great way of, the lore bard gets a bunch of spells from other classes with mystical secrets. Normal bards get a few with a similar feature. But this is a cool way of revamping that concept in an incredibly flavorful way. Yeah, big one for this one.
And now we have Mystical Connection. At 14th level, the College of Spirits feature, your connection to spirits has become semi-permanent. Whenever you use your Tales from the Beyond feature, you can roll a d6 and use it instead of expending a Bardic Inspiration die. You will still use your Bardic Inspiration die for the Tales effect without expending it. So basically, you get one for free.
It's so cool. You get as many as you want for free.
Yeah.
You can use this all the time for a slightly weaker version.
Yeah.
This is very reminiscent of features where it's like when you start a combat without any superiority dice remaining, you get one. But the way that this feels story-wise feels much more interesting to me than just getting a die back whenever you start combat. So, yeah, this is very cool. A great way of extending the usability of this feature.
It's definitely one of my favorite bards. Right out of the
I'm really
gate.
very impressed with this bard.
It's so story focused. It's so random. It's got chance to it. I love the idea of being able to improv those stories a little bit that you tell. Uh, there's so much opportunity for great role play because of this, and the powers are powerful. They're great. I
Yeah,
love them.
and the randomness is actually really useful for this class because the bard is already a ninth level spellcaster. They're a full spellcaster with access to ninth level spells.
Yeah.
You don't need to be putting that much more stuff to think about on top of the bard, and having it be a roll of the dice, clicking into what new power you get. It's a really great way of having a wide variety of cool options without layering too much more complexity on top of
You're already the jack of all trades. You're right. Absolutely. Like, you're already not missing an opportunity to be able to help people in some way, right? You're great at skills. You're great at spells. You're kind of good at like a lot of things. This should be random for how powerful it is. I think the bard could use a little chaos and inconsistency there. So I quite like it. I love the story of it. Very spooky bard.